Welcome, everybody who's still on YouTube, who just saw me in Shadow talk about topics on table breakers. I decided that I want to do a second stream tonight. I wasn't 100% sold on it until a little bit ago when I was just talking to Shadow about literature books, books that we love. And I hope there's a few other people. I sent out a few more invitations out there for people to join us. If anybody shows up in chat that we know, I will definitely, say, please come on in. If one of us knew how to get hold of, was it Nathan? I'd love to have him on it because I'm sure his book collection is different than
very weird.
Yeah, he's probably on because he made like 6 videos today.
Well, if he is on, that would be awesome.
And I know he's subbed to you, so if he's on and he sees it, he'll come join if he can.
Gotcha. So, with that being said, tonight we're going to talk about literature books that we love. It being our childhood books of Curious George, Winnie the Pooh, The Velvet Rabbit, whatever, to the books that we grew up as teenagers, for those who are above teenagers, so forth and so on. You'd even be amazed some of the required reading that they used to have to have in high school were some really good novels out there that we'd never thought about reading. Now, I am going to start with Jack. I know Jack is younger than me and Shadow put together. And he has really bad taste in movies. So I'm hoping his taste in literature is a whole lot better, or I'm going to be really sad.
Well, I'm going to... Well, the book that's closest to me is I'll just show you. I'll turn on the camera because I'm set up now. This one was actually given to me by Grim Desay, which very good. But it's I'm not sure how much it counts because it's a historical nonfiction book.
Hey, you know what? That works just fine.
And if I can figure out a way to change the way my camera works, or actually, I'm just going to read from order from top to bottom the books that are stacked right next to me. On top, you have the Bible, because of course. Then the Divine Comedy, then the Storm of Steel, Mind Rub Trouble, Fahrenheit 451, and I believe underneath that is 1984 and Animal Farm, because it is the worst of the group.
Wow, you have Animal Farm. I disagree with you. I think Animal Farm was a great novel.
No, it's all right to read, but, well, it's Trotskyist propaganda, and I'm not a fan.
Well, most literature is propaganda, if you want to look at it from a certain light.
I think the majority of books on my table are propaganda. I mean...
Except for the Bible, of course.
Yeah, that's why I said the majority. I mean, most of my books that I have here are of people who were in wars and their experience in those wars, which both of them are positive accounts, or at least primarily positive accounts. I mean, if you've read either of those two, Mind of Trouble and The Storm of Steel, specifically, Fahrenheit 451 and, 1984 are different, but be it that those two are accounts of people's experiences in World War I and the Spanish Civil War, respectively, and both of them are mildly positive towards the side, definitely towards the side that they fought for, unlike other books, which I won't mention. But, yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Orwell. That's the thing.
All right. Well, we'll get back to Orwell here in a second because I think he was a brilliant author of his era. All right. So, what about you, Shadow? What is your go-to? This is the book I'll have laying next to me on my deathbed. Would help if you're not muted, of course.
Yes, it would be greatly appreciated.
We don't talk about that one book, but it will be Roger Zelazny, probably the Nine Princes in Amber, the Amber series, or one of his many short stories.
Even though you've already
if
mentioned
you're
that book countless times.
He's my absolute favorite author, not just because I met him and we were friends, etc., but because he really is just he's funny without being, goofy. He's just well, he was incredibly imaginative, and he just had a really fun way with words that I just can't recommend highly enough. Mind you, I don't read any of the kind of books my son just mentioned, even though I bought all those for him. That's not the kind of stuff I read.
All but one.
It's science fiction. What?
No,
Well, obviously the Bible, yeah.
Actually, there's two now that I think about it, but one's in Spanish and bigger.
But I tend to read science fiction and fantasy almost exclusively, with the exclusion of just about everything else except survival books, which is something I do read a lot of military guides or military training books, military handbooks, things like that. Those are the closest I come to nonfiction.
All right.
Is it all right if I interject here?
Sure.
Of course.
I forgot to mention. I don't know how I forgot to mention, but, well, Brave New World. I'll just say that. And more importantly, Summer of the Monkeys. I don't know what this book is about. I've never read it. But it's on top of Brave New World, which means it has to be good.
Or
I think I
just
got to the
monkeying
school
around
library
with
and forgot to return it. Oh well. I don't go to that school anymore, so there's not much they can say.
it. Unless you watch my stream. And if that's the case, we're all screwed.
So I'll probably just give it back because I doubt I'll read this for a while.
See, my list varies. I mean, on books. I'm just looking at my bookshelf now. I've Tolkien, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I got Neil Gaiman's and Terry Pratchett's The Good Omen. I have a Bible too, but I think I got mine at a hotel. Of course, Jim Butcher, Dresden Files. The Prince by Nikolai Machiavelli. I have a bunch of different books, but I have to say, if it's the last book I get to read, the joke there's kind of a joke I want to make by saying it would probably be the Divine Comedy. Just so I know what's in, especially was it Divine Comedy, the when he's going through the levels of hell, so I know I'm in for. But other than that, my last book, the book I will probably have next to me on my dying bed would probably. Oh, so many good books. Treasure Island.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to have to go revise my list, my last book, to probably something like the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Why? Because it's so long they'll never finish it, or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
I mean, maybe Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer.
I always liked Connecticut Yankee.
That's a good one. I mean, there's a lot of different authors out there. There's more authors out there that I've not yet discovered, and I'm always happy when I find a new one. I've been my main drug of choice lately has been the Dresden Files. I've been reading them for years. And spoiler for you two, there is a character in the book named Maggie, which shares the same name as my daughter. So if there's ever a hook, line, and sinker, there would be. So
Not surprising, the little guy is partially named after one of my favorite all-time characters, so it's no surprise.
Yes.
all right.
And it was a good book, wasn't it?
I don't remember much of it actually, but it was good, I think.
Heresy, I say.
I don't
Yeah, it was
remember
a couple years. It was a couple years ago, and he was younger, so it might have been harder to absorb. But one of these days, he'll read it again and go, "Damn, this is a good book." But he really needs to see. I have a copy, I thought, somewhere of Starship Troopers, and I think he'd actually really like that one.
I almost certainly would.
I think I have that one on Audible.
The things I've heard about it sound good.
It was possibly his best work. Heinlein wrote some real,
possibly for a different reason, but that's
right.
But I also have heard some things that I really don't want to get to. But I mean,
I don't think it's going to be that big a deal when you get there. But Heinlein wrote some books that were just, for me, they weren't that good. I'm just like, really? This is the what he's best known for, like Stranger in a Strange Land. I'm just like, I have to reread it. I know it was big in the 60s, and my mom had me read it. Oh, you like Heinlein? We got to read this. And I'm like, this sucks. But I'll give it another go one of these days.
I mean,
Number of the Beast was god awful.
I think I've read that one.
Glory Road was good. But it was a lot more lighthearted. And I tend to go for that kind of thing. I'm not, that's why I couldn't make it through the Silmarillion. It was just too dry, and no romance, no humor, just
See, I have the same problem. I have the same problem with J.R.R. Martin. His books read like history books, which I appreciate. I love history. I will always consider myself a student of history because I'm always learning. There was many nights I'm poring over one of his books, and I have a glass of whiskey with me because every time I'm about ready to quit, all right, take another drink, get back to it. It was a reward, what one would say, a reward to get from getting into another chapter.
Wow, you got to bribe someone to read his books? Damn, that's not a.
They're a great story. It's just it's a heavy book and it's dry. Doesn't mean it's not a good book. I mean, The Hobbit or The Fellowship or The Two Towers. I jokingly said if I have to listen to Sam sing about those damn elephants one more time, it's just Tolkien was so detail oriented in his books.
Well, that's the way they were back then. You got to remember that it's almost 100 years old, and he was writing in a foxhole half the time. And
I give him props. I mean, I'm not discrediting the guy whatsoever. He started. If he only knew the world, the ball that he created, and how far down the hill it has rolled from when the first book was published to now, I think he'd be utterly amazed. And he'd be telling a whole lot of us to, go get real lives.
Possibly. He and Lovecraft are actually fortunate they never got to see their own success because it would have ruined them.
I think, and it's really weird for me to speak on Christian values and all that. Yes, I am a Catholic. Yes, I'm a practicing Catholic. But when it comes to Christianity in that time period, Tolkien was British. So there's the whole stiff upper lip. We rise above that stuff. And his values, I don't think he would have ever, I doubt that he would have ever got too big of an ego from it.
Maybe. I totally don't think Lovecraft would have survived.
I absolutely think you're absolutely
he
right.
would have gone absolutely just freaking. He would have gone Hollywood.
Yes. I'm not really switching over, but I want to bring up a painter. God, what's his name? It was not popular when he was alive, but when he died, his artwork, blew up. Good Lord, I'm not an idiot. What is his name? Van Gogh.
Van Gogh?
Van Gogh. Miserable
yes.
life. Absolutely miserable life. Nobody thought his paintings were worth jack or shit. He dies, and people discover him. And I think his artwork is absolutely gorgeous. From what of it I can see, I like his strokes, and I think some authors are the same way.
He's totally overrated. I'm sorry, he's totally overrated.
To each their own. I like Botticelli, I like Van Gogh, I like the Rembrandts, I like the old masters. But that's just my taste in art, which also ventures into my taste in literature.
Most of the art that I like is made by people that I hate, so I'm not quite sure I want to think about that.
I do not want. Okay.
Some of my favorites are actually were the Hildebrand Brothers. Not only was their artwork phenomenal, and they survived it, they lived through it, and they didn't, as far as I know, they didn't go all Hollywood. But the Hildebrand Brothers were twins who could literally finish each other's work and it wouldn't change.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's like 1 in a trillion kind of art, if you ask me.
I agree.
Their book Urshrak, which I'm going to be finishing and doing a review on, was just phenomenal. If you don't know who they are, they did the iconic original Star Wars poster, and they were just amazing. That's it. Just
okay.
Amazing.
It's like I can't think of the guy's name, but he did a lot of the earlier work for heavy metal. I think his fantasy
or Boris Vallejo.
Yeah, I think his work is actually gorgeous.
Those guys were incredible, and the only thing bad I can say about Boris is, he I can't help but noticing he put himself into a lot of his art. He was a huge bodybuilder, and so was his wife. So there was that, which is cool. You got, something besides, just, pumping iron to back up your skills. That's great. And their artwork, both of them, Vallejo and Frazetta, that was such a big, huge part of our growing up in the 70s and 80s. There wasn't a great band that didn't want their albums done by them or a magazine or what have you. They were great, but I'm waiting for the next ones. The next versions of them.
I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do understand that hiring models can be expensive. So if you and your wife can be your own models, I mean, that does lower the bottom line.
Sure. And I believe his wife was Julie Bell, and she was not only a painter, but I think she did actually do sculpted lead miniatures for the games back in the day. I could be mistaken. So yeah, great. They helped the gaming world, and the heavy metal album cover world, and the posters of young teenage boys who didn't have a Frazetta or Boris poster up at one time or another. So I'm grateful. I'm looking to see the next guys or gals that come down the road to do that. But I think we're gonna probably not see that until the overall mentality of certain people out there that would decry it sexist and etc., that sort of thing. When all that nonsense blows over and is just something we laugh about in the past, I don't think we'll see anybody like that for a while.
I mean,
unfortunately, I think you're right. And when it comes to authors, I think there's still a lot of great authors out there. but I think the next generation is going to be a little bit more
I
polluted.
don't think they're gonna get much out of the next generation.
That is absolutely saddening.
Well, that's what
I mean, I'm not wanting another token. Don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting another token. I'm not expecting another, pick one of the, the big names out there. Because
that's why I don't like to read anything past a certain era, past a certain decade. I'm trying to still read all the old greats out there, especially going back into the pulp era. Things like The Shadow and Doc Savage, Perry Rodan, and the things before that era,
right.
where men were men and women, were women, so to speak. There's so much great material out there for fantastical heroic deeds and two-fisted action and all that. My buddy Razor Fist, has done more to rejuvenate and revitalize that whole genre and that mentality for those red-blooded men out there who want to read something great out there. Check out his new book and check out his videos on things like The Shadow and Doc Savage and how they really molded everything we enjoy in the way of like superheroes and action and adventure movies. All that stuff is completely it's so very hard to find and so forgotten by most people that as storytellers and dungeon masters, we can learn so much and nobody's going to realize where our inspirations lies or laid until we get famous, so to speak. They'll be like, wow, this is great. Where did you get these great ideas? And you can just chuckle to yourself, 100-year-old books. They'll be just like flabbergasted.
I am trying to think of a modern female author I've read. Because I know I've had to read somebody. I mean, I read Anne Rice, but Anne Rice novels were just what they were. I mean, they weren't great, they weren't bad. They were just depends on what you're looking for.
Not a fan of Ayn Rand. Just gonna say it.
What?
No, he said Anne Rice.
Oh, Anne Rice? Not the biggest fan either, but yeah.
I read Interview with the Vampire, and I've never literally read a book that made me want to throw up, and that was that book. The whole descriptions of the drinking of blood just made me physically ill.
I didn't. I just kind of skimmed over it. There was a lot of those books I just skimmed over.
I don't want to read those.
I like the concept of them. There was bits of it I just skimmed right over. So, and that's just whatever. That's kind of how my point of view has always been. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to get me to read those.
I would never ask you to read those.
Yeah.
I mean, the first.
I even saw the movie with Tom Cruise. Not a fan of it. Queen of the Damned, saw that too.
That wasn't a movie. That was a music video.
Yeah, I only watched it because of who I was dating at the time.
I
want those 4 hours back.
I like the soundtrack to Queen of the Damned. It was all written by the lead singer of Korn. I like Korn, so I didn't mind it.
It's not good for you though.
Korn, yeah, it goes right through you, really weird.
He hates Korn.
No, Korn hates me.
Oh no, there's only one thing he hates more than Korn, and I'm not gonna say what it is.
Brussels sprouts.
I didn't mean food.
Well, no, it's like, Frankenstein.
It's a good one.
That is a great book. I recommend everybody reading it at least once.
Very different from what you expect or have been led to believe. from the movies, but definitely something, definitely on that list
I
of
was
classics.
really disappointed with the Island of Dr. Moreau.
The
I'm
book?
glad that we read it. I'm glad that I read it again, but I don't. I think it will be another lifetime before I even bother even think about reading it again.
It's
Uh,
definitely on the list of you should read it once. But that's about as far as I'm willing to be nice about it. It's just that's why I go to the older books when it comes to reading.
I get you.
I've always looked at it like the older the book you read, the more that book had the opportunity to influence the most people. A book like Tarzan is a great example.
Love
That book,
Tarzan.
Tarzan, is the one of the most influential books of all time. The most languages printed in, the most people who've read it, the most people who could relate to the story. If you do that, thing, everybody on the planet knows what you're talking about.
I'm
You know what I mean?
trying. Yeah, I'm trying to find the author's name. She wrote "How to Kill the Mockingbird." Death of
Never
the
read it.
Mockingbird.
You never read it?
Nope.
That's weird. I would have expected that you did.
It was required reading when I was in college, not college, high school.
Yeah. I went to a pretty crappy school. Every year in English lit class, we had to
Schools?
reread. We had to reread Great Expectations,
That's
and
another book.
I don't know what that
I can
is.
safely say that's the worst book ever written.
It's not the
I
worst
absolutely
book, but it's not the worst book, but it's really maybe one, maybe two-time read at most. It's
four
like
times, four times, maybe even
what's
five
her name?
because I
I can't
switched
think.
schools.
Female author back in the day, Pride and Prejudice.
Jane
Uh,
Austen.
yeah, I had to read a couple of her books in high school. All right, I read them. I can add that to books I read list, and I'm just happy I read them. Glad I'm done with them.
Yeah, that's why I stick to science fiction and fantasy, and always have, always will. It's you're gonna for me, I get so much more out of a book like that, those genres, than I
Harper
do out of
Lee, that's her
what.
name. Harper Lee.
Yeah, see, I didn't. I breeze by that section of the bookstore and libraries, go straight to sci-fi and fantasy because you can get all the life lessons and the moral of the stories and things like that from any book. But flying lizards and spaceships and crap like that, you just
Fine.
can't get out of just any old book. I mean, you really got to look far and wide, and there's just so much more. I mean, it's like I look at history. History is written by who? The victors, correct?
Not entirely.
There,
Not always, but I see where you're going with that.
There's
therefore, for
actually
me, it's
point to
always been,
several
well,
examples where that is the case.
I'm reading a bunch of propaganda or lies, or maybe on the off chance I'm reading some actual truth. Well, that's not going to really benefit me in, up there in heaven. I'm not going to need to know that stuff. When I get up to heaven, I'm going to be living
You mean if?
forever. Very funny. Trillions and trillions of years up there compared to the minuscule amount of time that's come before me that's not going to matter anymore.
I
So
see
all
where you're going with that, but
Like, I see what
all
you
that,
mean when you told me this before, and I'll say the same thing I said when you told me it the first time. And I think that's dumb.
Right.
I have to agree with Jack. I think life is about experiences,
Right,
and
but look at the experiences I've had. If I'm going by reading, just by reading, I've read about things that that never happened, but once you get up there, could happen.
Okay.
You know, unless I get shot back
Maybe.
on Earth and have to relive, by reincarnation, then all that information about history, I'll just get to relive, and I won't remember it, so it's of no use.
I see what you're saying, and I've seen it before, and it was dumb then, still dumb now.
Especially if you watch the movie What Dreams May Come. If you've ever seen it, Jackie, I know
That
has
was
it.
just one person's take of what heaven could be.
Right, and if that's
Or
1%
heaven could be
accurate,
very much sitting in church, a eternity of Sundays, where you're listening to
that's
somebody
a
preach.
pessimistic view. That's a pessimistic view.
No, that's
and,
not a pessimistic view. That is another option. We don't know. Everybody who's gone up there hasn't come back and told us. We don't know what that looks like. We're assuming.
Well, that's a topic for a Nathan show, because I actually
Honestly,
know
though,
people.
I'd be fine with that. I'd rather be there than here, which is why I'm there every chance I get.
Well said. Yeah. Personally, I think it's too long a time period to not be amazing.
Like I said, just really depends what person's into. I find cooking books really entertaining to read because there's things in there I would never have thought to put together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I run into somebody who does not like cooking or does not like food. He or she is not going to get the same thing out of it that I'm getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I told you what books I have. They're almost all historical and or political.
I'm surprised you don't have any Hemingway.
Overrated.
Incredibly overrated, but he wrote about the Spanish War.
Yeah, well,
he'll get there.
One day. I'm trying to get my hands on a homage to Catalonia, just so whenever I talk about how much I hate Orwell, I actually have some proof.
I also like reading folklore. I love reading old mythic legends of Beowulf or the legendary Fianna or a Fig. What's his name? Fig. No, not Fig. Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. Midsummer Night, Comedy of Errors. I think Romeo and Juliet's highly overrated. I think Hamlet is like one and done. But there's a lot of Shakespeare books out there I think are absolutely amazing.
There's only one I like by Shakespeare, but I did enjoy Romeo and Juliet. But what was that other one with the 3 boxes?
Merchant
Merchant of
Venice, yes. And for a penny, in for a pound.
That was the only one I really enjoyed. But that's because I knew how it might end from reading it.
You're saying fantasy and sci-fi. Midsummer Night with Puck.
Yeah, I didn't care for it.
To each their own. It's like I know a few parents out there that want their children to read Mark Twain, and I think that's a crime. I think everybody should read Mark Twain at least once.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read much of his books, and by much I mean I've only read one. It was decent.
I think it of all the writers, other than maybe Shakespeare, Mark Twain is the single or the number 2 guy who's been put into other people's stories as in the actual human being. Mark Twain has been in more stories of other people's than just about anybody but Shakespeare.
And not just as like a famous author guy in book, like is an actual character.
It's an actual character, especially in science fiction. So many people put Mark Twain into their stories and movies and TV. It's absolutely amazing if you think about it.
It's weird, yes.
You know, it's just he was even in the Venture Brothers.
You know, I was trying to watch the Venture Brothers. I'm really trying to get through it, but that's another one of those things that I have to have a glass of whiskey next to me. All right, made it through this episode. Get a treat. The brothers in that show that drive me up the fucking wall, literally right up the wall.
That is
Dean
completely and entirely understandable.
That's the point. That's the point. If you think about it, you know, it's called the Venture Brothers, but it's not about them.
Oh, yeah, no, and I get that.
Well, no. You think it's about everybody else, but it's about two other Venture Brothers. Your favorite character and his other brother.
Oh, the professor. Yeah.
No. I think it's the Monarch.
Oh.
Yes, he's told me this before, and I think the biggest thing that makes me think that is that scene where it's like the grandparents of the characters and Rusty.
They're on the airship.
Yes, when they're on the airship, the Venture guy was voiced by the same guy who did the Monarch, which I realized there's only like 2 voice actors in the entire show, but they could have just chosen the other one.
There's like 5. But the main 2 guys who wrote it do a lot of the voices. But I would be willing, and mind you, I haven't seen the whole series. I'm only caught up to season 4. There's 5, 6, and 7 that I haven't seen, but I would be willing to bet money that they are the Monarch and Rusty Venture are in fact brothers, especially if you consider the red hair and the previous careers and their parents, and like Jackie said, on the airship. Did you see the one about the orb? The episode about the orb?
No, I'm
okay.
I'm not binging it. I am watching it. I am watching it.
Okay, well, when you get it's in season 3, right, buddy?
I believe so. One of the last episodes of season 3.
When they're all on, when the old timey characters are on the airship, pay close attention because Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, is on that airship. Okay, and all those. Yes, he's there. You can tell because of the classic white suit and the face. But
I don't know what Mark Twain stereotypically looked like, so that doesn't help me.
He had white hair, mustache and beard, kind of like Bruce or Colonel Sanders, and he had this white suit with a thin black tie. But he was on the airship. But when you get to that scene called Orb, I think it's called Orb.
It is just
or something else. When you get there, pay close attention to all the characters that are on the airship because they're all the ancestors of people like Phantom Limb, Dr. Venture, the Monarch, quite possibly even Professor Impossible or Brock Sampson's dad or grandfather's there. All these characters are all on that ship that was, like 100 years ago. So when we get to season 7, if I was wrong, then I was wrong. But I think that's what it's all about, is these 2 other brothers leading up to eventually Hank and Dean, because even later on, those 2 kids grow up throughout season 4, 5, 6, and 7, and they come more into their own, as in, Dean is just the biggest fucking pansy ever. Right?
I'm not terribly surprised.
Well, no, I mean, he is now, where you're at. He's constantly crying and running away like a little girl. Whereas Hank is, they're very much like the Winchester brothers, if you think about it. One brother is the tough guy. The older brother is the tough guy. The young brother is the sensitive, freaking liberal wussy.
What was he?
Right?
Yes, I can see that. What was I going to say? Shit, what was I going to say? What was I thinking? If you like the Adventure Brothers, you might like another show that's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Amazon Prime called The Tick.
I read every single Tick comic book ever written, and yes, I was a huge Tick fan. I've seen the first 2 Tick shows and the first Tick cartoon. Did you know who Arthur is, right?
Yeah, the Moth.
You know who played his voice?
I know it was only for a episode.
Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
The only surviving monkey, by the way.
The Tick cartoon came on when I was a kid, and it was between Spider-Man and the X-Men. Well, I liked Spider-Man. I didn't want to miss the X-Men, so I had to watch the Tick, and I just thought the Tick was incredibly dumb compared to the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon and the X-Men cartoon. You
have to understand, it's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, the comic book is dark as fuck. The comic book of the Tick was the funniest comic book I've ever read. I literally laughed so hard I peed myself. Okay, if you can get a hold of it, good luck. I've got half a dozen episodes or issues still, and I made the mistake of selling my collection a long time ago. And I bet I could probably buy it now real cheap, and I might just do it because it's literally the funniest comic book ever written, period. But then, like the Turtles, the comic book was great. Cartoon, not so much. The live action, not so much.
My problem with the Ninja Turtles cartoon is there's a lot of nostalgia behind it. It's hard for me to look at it and say, God, this crap is crap, even though I know it's crap because I watch. It's like going back and watching any of those Ernest Goes Camping, Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail movies. I watched them as a kid, and I have love for the show. I love for the movies, even though
I didn't watch them as a kid, obviously. But believe it or not, they're if you understand that what the actor was doing, considering how he got his start in character from a TV commercial, right, and ran with it, made a fortune being a Shakespearean actor and throwing all that talent into that, but at the same time making it a lowest common denominator comedy, where kids could watch it and not have their parents cover their eyes kind of a movie or movies.
Oh, yeah.
The guy was a genius.
Oh, absolutely. I know a lot of people, it's like Pee Wee Herman. Now, I use Pee Wee Herman in this pretense. Pee Wee Herman had a show back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was fucking weird. But his humor was in such a way that the normal kid would never understand it. It was for the parent. It was grown-up humor, but he presented it in such a way it was harmless. Kids would never get it. The actor is whatever, but the show and the way he did it was brilliant.
And I don't even know that the actor was anything other than a human being who in a moment of weakness got caught in his moment of weakness. I don't know enough about him.
Considering where he was at and what he was doing, I thought was fairly normal in my head. I mean, it's not somewhere I would go, but whatever. It's not like, it's not like he was ever going to be in Times Magazine, the hottest man of the year.
Right. Or you can't compare it to other famous people who were guilty or accused of much worse.
Worse, right. So when it comes to that guy, I'm like, whatever. I thought he was funny as a kid. His grown-up show that he shows in Vegas is quite popular, I heard, because it hits that nostalgic with all the, now that we're grown-ups, we understand the jokes.
And what was that other movie he was in, that superhero movie?
Oh, Mystery Men.
Yeah, that movie wasn't awful. And he was in it.
I watched that movie because of I almost didn't watch it. Fucking Ben Stiller, man, that guy. I do not find him funny at all. But it had a bunch of other actors.
It's actually full. It's got two people who I cannot stand, but when I watched it the first time, they weren't that bad. Janine Garofalo, Janine Garofalo,
yeah,
and Ben Stiller. I grew to hate them after that movie, but in that movie, the movie was actually, kind of funny. Ben Stiller absolutely despises comic books and the entire industry and hates anybody who reads them. So him being in that movie is kind of weird.
Well,
but he absolutely fucking hates the industry, not because of what it's become, but when it was at its almost greatest moment, he thought everybody involved was, a low-life sack of shit who should just grow up and get lives.
To be fair, there's people out there that say the same thing about us.
Not to my face.
Well, that's because they they're not dumb.
Well, I mean, they are, but not that way.
Don't get me wrong. I love my mom. I love my mom, but she thinks people who actually take time when they could be doing something else productive and play these games, she finds it to be completely idiotic. Go read a book. Go plant and garden. Go be productive. Sitting around playing board games or being imaginary people is for children, not for grown-ups. That's her thought processing.
That's an understandable outlook on life, but
what?
That's understandable.
Until you've actually done it, and think of the people. Think about all the when I first got into the hobby. One of the reasons I got into the hobby was because of my parents realizing that people like that, confined to wheelchairs or worse, could engage in something, with rules and a format and the social contract and everything, could find some joy and happiness with their given situation and would be at a level playing field as everybody else, was just absolutely amazing for me. The concept, I'm like, this is going to be fucking big. Anybody and everybody can participate as long as you've got, I guess, vocal cords that work. I think that's like.
I've seen people play the game using sign language. It is doable.
Okay. So with that being said, I wasn't wrong. Look how big it is now.
I've seen blind people play the game, which is weird, but I have seen it. A lot of Braille. All the books are in Braille. Their character sheets are done in Braille, and they have like a little button they push, and it'll it says a number. And if that but it's all in Braille, other than the button they push that says a number.
Have you ever seen those machines? Some blind folk carry around that translates words or speech into these bumps on a machine, kind of like those. Those devices, those toys that you push your face on and all those needles make the image of your face?
Yeah.
Those pins. It was like that, but the pins would pop up and they would just have that. That is the freaking weirdest thing. I mean, like.
Why would you need that for speech unless you're blind and deaf?
Either way.
No, I saw a blind guy who wasn't deaf, but it was like his version of like text messaging or something.
Oh.
Or like, it was really weird. I don't know why he had it, but he was like listening to something, but through Braille.
It sounds like there's a more efficient way to do that.
But he could hear and speak because I saw him on a bus. And he had to
saw him
talk.
in person.
Yes.
Oh,
it was really kind of interesting.
Well, that's bizarre. Would have never heard this story before.
It's sport. I've got thousands of stories you haven't heard before. Trust me, you'll get to most of them.
It's like you almost had a life before you had kids.
That's not what I meant.
A couple of them.
I know, Jack. I make the same joke when I have a girlfriend, and she's like, "You did this." I'm like, I did have a life before you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The funny thing is he'll probably know more stories than his mom will.
That's just the relationship between a father and son, and a mother and a daughter.
Yeah.
So, any books here lately that you guys read? I started with a Doctor Island, Doctor Moreau. It's like I thought this was going to be better. Have you guys read anything here recently you thought should have been better than what it was? And I swear, either one of you guys say Jim Butcher, I'm going to leave right. And walk away.
1, 2, no, no. I only read good stuff for the most part.
Well, most of the books I read are political, and because I agree with the political message, I know they're going to be good before I read them. Because if they aren't, well, then I can disregard that and ignore all the literature.
Yeah, I really can't. I can't probably on one hand count the books that I read that I hated, except anything by Stephen King. I absolutely despise it.
I have such a love-hate relationship with Stephen King.
He only did one good thing, and I don't know how much he had, what part he played in it overall, but Shawshank Redemption is the only thing I give credit for.
Yeah, great
the
novel.
Only thing I give credit for.
A great novel.
I only saw the movie. So I don't know. The movie was phenomenal. Even though I hate everybody in it.
I like the most recent I like the most recent.
Except Morgan Freeman, maybe.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins, Clay Bryan,
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. That's what I mean. Clancy Brown. Yeah, there's a lot of good actors in that movie.
No, there's a bunch of liberal sacks of shit in that movie, and Morgan Freeman, and the jury's still out on him too. Fucking hate Tim Robbins. If I ever meet him in a dark alley,
I don't have anything for or against him. I haven't really looked into him. Also, I just ignore him. But I like Morgan Freeman. I like Clancy Brown. I like.
You mean Jimi Hendrix? You never heard that?
No.
I don't know what you're referring.
I like the main warden. I like not the main warden. I like the main guard. There was a couple of the other prisoners there that I really liked. I've seen in other movies. I thought are good actors. I liked the movie. I thought it had a really good cast. It might have one or two shit show for actors, but other than that, it wasn't enough for me to say no. I'm not watching this.
Well, there's a conspiracy theory, rumor, whatever you want to call it, that Jimi Hendrix and Morgan Freeman are the same person.
What?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm just saying it's out there. I heard it, and I thought it was amusing, and it stuck. I don't necessarily believe it. I just heard it, and I thought it was amusing.
It's like,
don't lie, you believe it.
No.
I don't even know how to approach that.
That's such a bizarre concept. I don't even know what I'm.
I didn't make it up, but I collect these. I believe
that you didn't make it up. I believe that there's somebody out there peddling that nonsense. And
wouldn't that be funny if I was the guy, though? If I started that rumor?
No, because I somehow be caught into it too.
Scared the little guy away. No, I hear stuff, and it would be amazing if it was true. The fact that he used to be on Sesame Street is more than enough amazing, weirdness for me. But then top that off with, oh yeah, he used to be Jimi Hendrix.
Well, Prince was on Sesame Street
as a kid.
No, as an adult.
Oh, as a guest. Morgan Freeman was a regular.
Oh, I didn't know that. Honestly, I was surprised that they had.
Or was it Electric Company? Electric Company.
Electric Company.
But either way, I mean, that's That's just weird when you think about it. He went from that to that, and like I said, the jury's still out on him. He could turn out to be a hardcore, lefty, woke,
I
whatever, like
don't
Tim
think
Robbins.
Morgan Freeman is Morgan Freeman. Hold on, before I say anything else, I actually want to look how old this guy is. He's up there in years. God, he's up there in years. "85 years old from Memphis, Tennessee." Yeah, no, I don't think their concerns are. I don't.
Look it up. Look it up. You have access to a computer. Type it in. Just type in Jimi Hendrix, Morgan Freeman, and see what they say.
Oh, Jesus. This is your dad.
Yep. He's weird.
Trust me, I got some comments I want to say to you, young sir, when it comes to this Sunday. My
Oh, no.
God.
Did you watch it?
Apparently.
I got my answer.
Is
This
that
was
bad?
a good day.
Because believe it or not, I read the back of it and it sounded actually interesting.
It has a lot of practical magic monster. I appreciate it. If you turn the volume off,
It's always a good thing when you hear about a movie. If you turn the volume off and close your eyes, it's pretty good.
Hey, you know what's the best part about it though, Connell?
That we haven't seen it yet?
No. When we're done this Sunday, it's my pick next.
Well, Jack,
In the hat. Never mind.
because you went to Shane Footless was just a movie, not a book. Oh, I know what movie we should review when it's my turn. Oh, yeah.
Okay, right off the bat, first off, you are not Janet from another planet, so it damn well better be sci-fi or fantasy. Horror maybe also, but you try pulling that freaking Footloose crap.
No, it is a horror comedy.
That's the worst two combinations of words I've ever heard.
Tell me it's Little Shop of Horrors.
No, but that's a good. That's a good one. But no, it's not that one.
That is a good one, isn't it? Especially with all the great in it.
Oh,
Steve Martin, not Dan Aykroyd. What the hell?
Steve Martin, Rick
Moranis. Ellen Green. Oh my God, I used to have such a crush on her. And
no, that's not the movie. That's not the movie. But it'll be a howling good time.
American Werewolf in London is okay, but if it's a Jack Nicholson piece of crap, then he made
Jack Nicholson. I said a comedy horror.
Oh, then it's got to be American Werewolf.
No, that's just a horror.
Teen Wolf.
Give a man the cookie.
Really?
Hey, I don't want to hear it after your son's pick.
Look at that smug look on his face.
Oh, come on. Michael J. Fox.
Did I ever tell you I killed him once in a game? Did I ever tell you I killed him?
In game?
Yeah. Oh. I'm not even joking. My friend, we were playing this Earth game, and Michael J. Fox was doing something, and my two characters were bad guys, and I chopped off his head on stage.
I mean, honestly, after time traveling we did on Gatekeepers, I was thinking about having you guys watch Back to the Future.
We've seen it, haven't we? Didn't we watch all three, Sport?
Well, yeah, we've seen it. Doesn't mean we can't review it.
Yeah. No, we'd have to watch it again though.
I mean, fuck. There's also Karate Kid.
Yeah, I didn't like those movies.
Oh, I love those movies,
Yeah,
especially the first one with
Bruce is telling
Elizabeth
me-
Shue in it.
Bruce is telling me, you got to watch Cobra Kai. And I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen.
Oh, Cobra Kai is amazing.
I
I heard it's good.
It's good.
I don't know much about it. Though.
It's got to be Pulp Fiction, Fight Club good, or I'm just going to be like, nah.
It's for kids, like the original show.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like the grown-up, Netflix kind of thing.
No, I mean, yes, the original actors come back, but it's meant for anybody who enjoyed the movie as, teenagers or kids. And
Gotcha. Okay.
it's meant for young. It's not. It is family friendly.
I think I'd rather watch Yellowstone.
That is not family friendly, but yes.
Or
Of course you
Tombstone. Of course I would. You've never seen Pulp Fiction, so just.
Oh man,
just-
I was
knew
not
that.
allowed to watch that movie when it came out.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I saw it years later, just like Fight Club, and I'm like, where's this been all my life? I used to watch Pulp Fiction every
I still
Sunday.
need to watch Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, that's not as good. It's good, but it's not as good. But I used to watch Pulp Fiction every Sunday for a couple of years with my mom and whoever else would come over and watch it with us.
I like Samuel L. Jackson. I really like Samuel L. Jackson in that movie. Him and Mr. Wolf.
Don't you think there's better things you could be doing on a Sunday though?
Getting my mom to church was an impossibility.
Yes, you told me the stories.
Yeah. It's one of these days you'll watch it, and let's put it this way: it's not as bad as it's not really as technically as bad as the Venture Brothers. In some cases, there is one scene down in the basement.
Two.
Yeah,
Two.
the needle.
Considering I basically had that happen to me at a hospital, I'm going to say 2.
Okay, maybe next year.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to watch the last 20 minutes of the film.
You got to admit, though, it's a great movie. Even though I can't stand Tarantino anymore. And Fight Club, I mean, damn. That movie.
What a twist.
It's on the shirt.
Oh, no. I mean, I want to do, I know we started off with books, and we're talking about movies now. It tends to happen with these shows.
Nice.
But, I Kingsman should be on a list of movies we review.
Absolutely, yes.
You could turn Kingsman.
I've heard a couple of good things about it. Did you watch
Michael? It has Michael Caine. One of the 3 best Alfreds.
Did you see Jupiter Ascending?
Yeah.
I kind of liked it, and I was starting to like Umbrella Academy, and then at the end, not so much.
I watched it. I watched all of it. I mainly paid attention to Five's character, and that's really about it.
Yeah, that was yeah. And now with Ellen Page, doing what she did.
Not my
Well,
problem.
yeah, but now she kind of ruined a TV show. I mean, she ruined it by being in it, and now she ruined it by not being able to come back, normally.
Well, I mean, now you can't watch the second, third, or fourth X-Men movie.
Wasn't planning on it, so it's not really a big loss.
No. Wow.
I I'm
I don't know.
it's just
That
about
shit doesn't
time for
bother
the
me
little guy.
because I don't care.
Well, I'm a purist. I grew up reading the X-Men comic books and what they did in the movies,
Hey,
and the
they
reason
got
why I
two.
stopped reading the X-Men.
They had some of the characters absolutely correct. They had a few of the characters that weren't exactly correct. Cyclops is a dick. Wolverine is a bigger dick. The guy who played Toad played it amazing. Magneto was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Patrick Stewart was amazing as Professor X.
Sure.
The,
I'm not faulting the actors in this instance. They for
just
the
the
most part they
writers.
all did. Yeah. The fact that they couldn't, kind of like stick to some major points. I get it. It's such a long running series that they
The
couldn't.
fact that Wolverine and Sabretooth did not know each other bothered the ever living fuck out of me.
As soon as even Marvel Comics did it, when they started trying to hook up a 6 foot tall Jean Grey with a 5'2" Wolverine as a love interest, it was just retarded.
There's nothing wrong with dating taller women. I recommend it.
It doesn't work out. Everybody knows it. If you've ever met a couple like that, they never last ever. Especially when you're talking about that kind of a difference. You're talking about a 10-inch difference.
I know a couple where the woman's taller than the guy, and they've been married for almost 30 years, and they're happily married.
10 inches difference, though?
They make it work. They have
10 inches. It's probably a lot less than 10 inches.
He is every bit of 5'4", and she's every bit of 6'2".
Really? I'd have to see photos because that don't make no sense. Biologically, that's not how it works.
It's like
they're mutant.
Right. It's like seeing a Chihuahua hooking up with a Great Dane.
Yeah, what were they, stranded on a desert island for like 8 years? It just doesn't.
The story was
he saved her life.
No, most of the guys who went after her basically for her body, and he was an intellect. He is a professor at a local college, he's a university, and she digs guys that had brains.
Again, mutants. But unfortunately, it's time for us to go because the little guy has to hit the hay. His madre is already coming, giving me that look twice.
Well, I will see you, Shadow, later on this week. My Jack, my little dictator. I will see you when I see you.
That actually reminds me of something.
Oh, that's another good one. The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, yes. But that wasn't what I was going to say. I don't know if we have time, though.
Well, keep your thoughts, and we'll talk, share them next time. For everybody who watched this for a whole hour and it's going to be 9 minutes, thank you. Hit the like button. Go see these guys. Hit their like buttons. We need the support, and I'll have Jack send us out. What's your last words, man?
I don't really have any.
See, I was figuring you would say God bless and good night.
Oh, yes, that.
Bye, everybody.
Later.
Adios.